WYSP coming out of your woofers and your tweeters. The Grease back again, loving life. You know, I did talk to the management here at WYSP. I said, I don't mind coming back, doing a little retrospective, a little shrieking, but you got to promise me one thing. When I come sliding down the street, slipping into the radio station, I don't want to run into my ex-wife, Estelle. Are you listening, you piggy? Huh? You broke me, Estelle. You broke me. People say, Grace, the bitterness, let it drop. Estelle is no longer in your life. Nah, but after all that money I had to give, she was the one doing the cheating. That's the thing. I had no idea she was passing that scamper around quite the way she was. Any excuse to get some strange. We had a faucet bust off on the tub. She was going to take a bath. And now she can't turn the water off. The drain was very slow because all the hair in there from that scamper of hers. I mean, I got to admit that thing, cup of tea with her was like eating sushi off a barbershop floor. So anyway, the water's coming in faster than it's going out. I'm telling you, it looked like she's wearing an Angela Davis wig on that thing. And the water's coming in, so she runs to the phone. She dials the first plumber that's and you're like, yeah, it's a Estelle Greaseman. Yeah, I got water coming in. Water, it's emergency. We'll pay the extra emergency fee. So the plumber comes in. She's still in her bathrobe because she was going to get in the tub. Tatas are flopping. He looks at her and he's like, man. She looked at him, a big brute carrying a toolbox. Next thing you know, they're in the bedroom. They didn't even know his name. Oh, no, it's the plumber. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, the water continues to flow. I don't know how long. Estelle was insatiable. Could be an hour and a half, 2 hours went by of serious. Well, while they were in the throes of passion, they looked around, and Estelle, she's looking over the plumber's shoulder, and she sees a TV set go floating by. So she looks over the edge of the bed there, and the whole bed's floating. The dresser's floating. The furniture's floating. Like 4 or 5 feet of water in the room. She's like, my God. Well, and look, at the bed tilts in the water. She falls in. Here I come. Back from a hard day's work. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just thinking about that first bone-dry martini. I go walking up my walkway. I open the front door, and I'm water coming out of there. Next thing I know, a naked man floats by on a bench. And there's Estelle. She's there. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm wading through my floating furniture. I said, come here, buddy. We're fighting on a lawn. I got one for Estelle, too, baby. So the neighbors are looking out the window at 4 feet of water surging out of my front door, me fighting with a naked man, while Estelle lies bleeding on the grass naked. The neighbor looked over at his wife and said, don't you feel the neighborhood's lost some of its quaint charm since the Greaseman Nellies have arrived?
Yes, I'm happy.
It's the Greaseman Show.
Yeah. Oh, God. Look at me work. I'm a diddy bum and daddy. Look at me work. Say bladder me bladdy. Look at me work. Feel free to jump on the action. Stand by for more of the Greaseman Show.
94 WYSP. Rock on forever.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look up when you're strange.
Hi, Hi, it's the Greaseman back again on WYSP. I'm telling you, history in the making. That's all right, aching. I can't believe YSP is done over. I know. It was a proud past, dear Lord. And I'm proud to be a part of it. People used to say to me, Grace, we listen to you every night in Philly. How you come up with those ideas, those stories you tell? Well, actually, I guess since it's all over, I can let you know a secret. I would get the stories from you. That's right. I'd get off the air, or some afternoons on the weekend, I just lumbered to the nearest street corner. I had this big old stereo with cassettes, like we used to use when I was on YSP, and I'd push play and let some funky music play, and people stare at me as they walk by. Guess what I'm doing? I'm waiting for the bus. Just waiting for the bus. Yeah, that's me. Well, that's where I get my ideas. You know, you just sit in your car all the time. You never talk to anybody. The people are always shocked to see the Greaseman at a bus stop. They say, Grease, what are you doing? Waiting for the bus. Just waiting for the bus. I said, well, I'm doing this just because I want to meet you. Sit here and talk to people. Pull out my pipe, fill it with Borkham Riff, and swap story. Well, as I was sitting there talking to this new guy, this lady goes by with a stroller that's kind of just ricocheting all around. And there was a kid in there that was a little bit too big to be in there. On top of that, he had his britches down. He had this little teddy bear, and he was just like... I looked in there and saw that idiot spectacle, and I pointed out to the mother. I said, ma'am, look at this. I think your boy's outgrown that teddy bear. You know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, he'll be after your husband's inflatable doll. She slapped him once and said, stop that. You lie there calm and quiet while we're waiting for the bus. Just wait for the bus. I said, ma'am, I'd get that boy checked out. Unbelievable. And I saw another guy on the end of the bench waiting. And what are you looking so sad about? He said, I just can't get a girl. Can't get a slight. Can't find. I said, hey, come on. That happens to the best of us. Hell, I was so frustrated in my single days, I was tempted to rub fertilizer on my ass and grow my own tail. He said, well, I'll wait for the bus. Just wait for the bus to get on downtown and find some. I said, well, don't rush it, it'll come. Well, wouldn't you know, as if to torture the poor guy. We hear some sweaty romping sounds coming from behind the bushes where we're waiting for the bus. Just waiting for the bus. And I hear the woman saying, please, please, Harry. He's like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. He's like, your marriage is over. It's a marriage in name only. I need you, and I need you now. He's like, I can't do this. He said, yes, you can. He said, no, I can't get my damn zipper down. Bear with me a second here. So I'm listening to that spectacle when these two drunks come by. And I can't believe it, but these two drunks are hanging onto a mailbox just waiting for the bus. Just waiting for the bus. And one of them says, you know, I better not get on that bus before I make my bladder gladder. I'm going to go in that convenience store and see if they'll let me use the can. So we go staggering in there. Drains the vein. Comes back to his buddy, and his buddy, who's standing there hanging on to the street sign for balance, says, I forgot to ask you, can you take a leak for me while you're in there? So the drunk goes back in there again. And when he comes back out, he slugs his buddy. Pop! The buddy falls off and says, what was that for? The drunk says, well, that's for not telling me you had to poop.
The Greaseman Show!
Badges aren't given. There are options and retailer charges.
Hi, it's the Greaseman back for a little last-minute fun at WYSP before we make our transition. They asked me to share some memories, my time on the air in Philadelphia. Well, one of the wackier memories is, to be on the air in Philadelphia. It was the biggest city I'd ever been in up till that time. And when I came in to record some IDs, I couldn't stop. It was just so much fun to say, WYSP, Philadelphia. Or maybe it'd be better if I said, WYSP, Philadelphia. Or maybe, make Philadelphia a bicentennial city. WYSP. We had all these things we did years ago here at WYSP. But one of the other things besides the fun of saying the ID, cupping one ear, WYSP, Philadelphia. I mean, up until that time, it was like WQBZ, Oshkosh, Rat's Ass, Idaho. I mean, WYSP, Philadelphia, to be able to say a thing like that, man. And yet, one of the memories that stand out in my mind is that lunatics would call me. You'll recall I was on at 6 to 10 at night. And at the time, I don't know if it's still true now, but they had payphones and all the, whatever you call it, I don't want to say the wrong politically incorrect thing, the homes where people are incarcerated because they're nuts. The guy's nuts. Grab him. And they'd get on these payphones when I was on the air at night and call me. And I just happened to find this one call that came in when I was sitting here at YSP. Listen to this guy. How you doing, buddy?
Everybody down here on the West Wing loves your show.
That's right, on the West Wing?
I'm in the psych center.
Are you really?
I wonder.
What are you going to be sentenced for?
I popped my old lady in the mouth. She gave me a hard time. I sent her out to get beer. Listen to this. I don't have a windshield in the car, so I told her, put the goggles on and go to the 7-Eleven. She puts the goggles on, she gets the ticket, she comes back, gives me the ticket, like I'm driving a car. What is she, crazy?
Wait a minute. You don't have a windshield, you send your wife out for beer, so you gotta wear goggles. Well, you have to have a windshield.
No, you got the goggles. It's legal. I looked it up.
Hey, it's legal if you...
As long as you put the goggles on, it's legal.
Is that...
And just so she didn't put the goggles on.
So she didn't put the goggles on? So she comes up, you tell her you didn't put the goggles on.
Well, that's what I said to her. So anyway, to make a long story short, I popped her in the mouth. I try to be kind and stuff. So anyway, so she goes to the dentist. She starts running around with the dentist.
Yeah, but sir...
It ain't the only thing in her mouth.
I mean, can you imagine a woman... Can you imagine a woman's lot in life? She marries a guy. She's expecting a big, bright future. Everywhere she goes, she's got to sit there with goggles on. And then one day she forgets the goggles. She comes home, and you're like, hey, what happened? You got a ticket? Where would it... Don't you ever do
I'm insensitive. And when I get out of here, I'll show her how insensitive I am.
Now, wait a minute now. You're not going to renew the argument with your wife, are you?
Yeah.
Well, no, I think they got you locked up in the yard.
Hey, there's people in here that are really crazy.
I can imagine.
There's a guy up here, he ate his wife. I mean, Soylent Green type, you know?
I know, but I imagine, sir, frankly, when you go pulling up with your goggles on, hey, you don't look too out of place in there. You know, I'd say first thing, get a windshield. How much could that be?
Well, that's besides the point. I guess it's $250 now.
$250 for a windshield. Cheaper to wear the goggles.
It would have been cheaper to get the windshield than to get sent here, though, I'll tell you. Your show, everybody here loves your show.
That's great. Well, tell everybody up there on the West Wing that I send my best.
Yeah, my friend Dennis, he's going to call you soon.
All right, that's great.
Well, they got him in like a jacket.
They got him in it. Can't you peck out the numbers for him and hold the phone to his ear?
Numbers for him. We'll wait until he's out of it.
I understand. Yeah. All right.
You knew it.
Okay, well, thanks for the call.
Well, thank you, and we really like your show, man.
Thank you very much, sir. Imagine that. Now, that's you see, you learn something. I didn't know it was legal to drive a car without a windshield if you're wearing goggles. So you know how sometimes, like a pebble will come up and bust your windshield, and you just have a little hairline crack, and that'll make it fail inspection? Well, if that ever happens to me again, I'm just going to bust it out completely with a hammer, put my goggles on, I'm good to go. Save $250 and be kind of a novel kind of guy. Imagine driving along, my hair whipping behind me, everybody. I'm legal. Goggles! Yeah. I tell you, you meet some wacky guys, you know, you meet some wacky people in this world, and that's why I go to hospitals and visit the schools, you know, to help people out, go by the asylums. I don't like to toot my own horn, but it's a weekend thing. Sometimes I'll go by an old age home. And one week weekend, I'd looked in the phone book and I'd been to all the rest homes and all the psycho wards to visit the people and tell a couple of jokes. And my honey looked, she said, well, here's one you haven't been to. Why not go to the school for the speech and hearing impaired? What they used to call the deaf and dumb. I said, yeah, I guess lip readers and everything. So I went by there and I said, hey, name's Nino Greaseman. And I'm a boss jock. He said, yeah, I've heard of you. You're the, I said, yeah, that's me. But on the weekends, I like to help people. He said, they don't need any help out here at this school. Hey, just because people can't hear and can't talk don't mean there's anything wrong with them. Plus, most of these people sign in here, so they get along quite nicely, thank you. I said, well, I didn't mean any offense. He said, no offense taken. He said, we're having a dance tonight. I said, a dance with music? He said, when they feel a vibration, you can dance. I said, hey, that's pretty neat. I said, well, all right. He said, would you like to stay? I said, well, geez, I don't know. I'd be a little embarrassed. I mean, suppose I want to ask one of the girls how to dance. How do I do that? He said, well, it's easy. I can teach you. You make a circular sign with your hand. That means, do you want to dance? I said, all right, what the heck? So I'm standing around like a doofus in my seersucker suit. And a nice-looking dame comes walking in. The second she comes in the door, I start making this circular sign with my hand. And she nods at me. We get out there, and sure enough, we're dancing here. She's a pretty good dancer. I'm doing the Copa Caprice. She smiles and nods. I break into the Piggly Wiggly. She was grinning big time. Then I put my arm around her, and we did a little bit of the Ishka Bibble. And we ended up near the bandstand. And some guy playing the sax in the band jumps up and goes, hey, Helen, can I have the next dance? She said, love to, Harry, but I think I'm kind of stuck with this dummy here.
He's the grease, all the grease is back. To daddy as a matter of fact. He's the grease, all the grease is back. So how do you do? And hobble the goo.
Will always rock.
How about that? The Greaseman returns to the WYSP airwaves. He's a trip! He was on for several years in the mid-90s, so it was a treat to get to hear him again. Coming up in just a few moments, in fact, right after this from The Offspring, we'll do live licks at 6. If you've got a band, it's 215-592-9494. You can also text in at 84828. 94 WYSP.